Hey Chris, how's it going, man? I was just going back through some of your work in the group, and yeah, I came across this flower that you did a little while ago, man. So I thought I'd just give you some feedback on it. Um, so first of all, what I like is that you've used the black around the outer edge of the flower to make it super bright. A big mistake that a lot of new artists make is they'll try and pump heaps of white into a tattoo, and then they'll have nothing in the background to kind of hold it in. So then it just kind of the white fades super quick, and then it just kind of goes to like a level kind of skin tone and just flattens everything out. So by using black to brighten everything up, it's going to hold, it's going to last, it's going to yeah, it's going to age much better over time once you put that on like actual skin. However, with putting black around the outer edge of the tattoo, you just have to be careful with how far out you flick your blacks. And when you are sort of adding like a fully black background, kind of you don't want to have it like the same thickness of black all the way around the outer side of the edge, because then otherwise it just looks like this kind of weird shape is around the tattoo. So what you could have done to make this like a little bit better is you see the parts of the tattoo that kind of like there's like a crevice, like kind of like you can see like between these two leaves, like the design kind of goes in a bit. So that's when I would kind of have like sort of the most black. And when the design extends outwards, like to this outer leaf, I would have less black up here. So you could almost, you could keep this the same, you can flick this out just as far, but then maybe only have it like a little bit over the very outer edge and just kind of cut off the black, obviously blend it out so it's nice and smooth. Um, and maybe not fully start at like complete black at this very edge here. Maybe like you can have black at the very inner parts of the rosebud, and then kind of as it fades out, it's almost like a very, it's like like a one wash or something around that very top area of the leaf. So in that way, it looks a lot more organic and a lot more natural, as opposed to kind of having like this black shadow that's like kind of the same. Um, it's flicked out the same distance all the way around the tattoo. It just kind of makes it look a lot tighter. Um, and also, I noticed that you've still got lines in this tattoo, which when you're starting out to do realism, it's really tempting to put line work in. But if you want to go for like true realism, you kind of don't want to have any sort of solid lines in the tattoo. You want to just rely completely on shading to separate the different parts of the tattoo. So instead of having like a hard line, like this part of the rosebud here, we'll just have like a little bit of light shading just on this petal, just to separate them a little bit. And yeah, save me having to put that kind of hard line so it loses that realistic effect. Cool. My next thing would be getting ultra sharp details. So towards the inner parts of this rosebud, it looks like you've done this quite well. It's important to remember, especially when you're doing realism, just because liners are for lining and mags are for shading, they can still kind of cross over a bit. You can line with a mag. It's difficult, but you can do really, if you have your ovals really tightly packed, you can do a really thick line with a mag just by like packing in the direction of the line that you're going. You can get really thick lines with it, but you can also get really ultra fine details and shade them with a liner. So I wouldn't recommend doing that for like a whole tattoo unless you're kind of going for like a stippling sort of an effect. But when it comes to like doing like the inner parts of the rosebud, you can use a 3-liner, and you can just flick out those little bits in the very center of the rosebud, and that's how you get those really ultra fine details. Like when you're doing a portrait, if you're doing like the eyes and like the under part of the nose and the teeth, that's what you'd use a 3-liner for, because a mag's kind of too big and clunky and you don't have the accuracy that you get with a 3-liner. And if you hang your needles out far enough by using a longer stroke, you're not going to get the ink splurt all over the stencil. So it'll give you a lot more accuracy and just kind of make sure that you hit those smaller details perfectly. And whereas if you were to do it with a mag, it will kind of be like a bit out of focus, and it won't the detail won't be kind of super sharp. So that's my second pointer. And then the third thing that I would recommend is your water drops. So right now they're quite good, and looks like the light source is coming from the top right hand corner, which is great. You've got the light source coming from the same direction. However, and there's nothing really wrong with the way that you've done it, but there's actually a guy that's really good at doing water drops. He's got a very specific formula to how he does them. So if you look at this guy, Keegan Hawkins, awesome tattooer. Does a lot of realism type stuff. You can see it's just like awesome. He does kind of have lines in this tattoo, but instead of being like a line, it's like a really dark purple. Um, so, which is, let's have a look back at your one. You sort of do still have lines here, but if you have shading on the other side of it, it helps to kind of hide that you've sort of added in a line, as opposed to having like, skin tone just separated by a single line. Whenever he does kind of like a line with a dark purple, it's always backed up one side or the other with shading. But if you look at his water drops, there's a very simple way that he does them, right? So he does like an oval shape, and then he would use like a 3-liner to just outline that little circle, which is the highlight. That's the part where the light source reflects off the water drop, and then he'll use that 3-liner just to flick it out until it gets really bright. And because you've got this bright edge on the end of the water drop, that's where you put your shadow, just beneath that really light bit. Now, he never used to kind of do this. He's kind of got like this light part of the shadow where it's almost like the water droplet has lightened the shadow. He never used to do that. It looks okay, but I prefer it to just have like kind of a straight sort of nice shadow below this highlight, and it really gives it that it really makes it look kind of 3D. And if you have like this part of the rose, if you have it nice and highlighted towards the dark bit of the water drop, then it really kind of separates it from whatever it's sitting on. I do that stuff a lot in my own type of art. You can kind of see what I've done here is I've got like that nice little reflective bit at the top where the light source hits, and then kind of around it is super dark, and then it sort of fades out towards the end of the droplet. And by having like this shadow just underneath it, it really separates it from the skull. So yeah, man, I hope that helps. I didn't think I'd go so deep into how to tattoo water drops, but it's a really cool little skill, man, and it makes your tattoos look ultra realistic if you get them right. So yeah, man, if you've got any questions about that, just send me a message inside the group. I'm more than happy to help you out, and I'll talk to you soon, buddy.